Thank you so much for joining the We Don't Play podcast show today, Lindsey. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'm so happy that you're here because I feel like it's always good to have, a woman who does SEO. It's like, for me, I'm a drummer. So when I see a female drummer, I'm like, yeah, let's go. So it's really good. I'm so happy that you're here, and congratulations on Optimize My Firm doing so well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take us back, because I know people want to get into local SEO, business, listing. How did it all start for you? Like, where did the journey begin?
So for me, the journey started with a bunch of Amish chicken farmers. And which is completely unrelated to the legal SEO industry. My family was my parents were serial entrepreneurs. And so they started companies, built them, sold them. And there was one company that they built that was an egg company. And they had partnered with a bunch of Amish farms in upstate New York. And as they were growing this company, I left my original job, which was teaching, to go and do marketing for this company and special projects and kind of learn the ins and outs of business development. So I went and helped them grow what started off as a backyard flock for them into the nation's largest pasture-raised organic egg company. So it was a really big success, a lot that I learned from that. And when I was done chasing chickens around, I decided to follow that marketing and business development passion and started working for a law firm here in Raleigh. And while I was doing marketing for that law firm, I learned the ins and outs of SEO. And by chance, ended up meeting a guy named Len, who's now my business partner, who had founded Optimize My Firm about 5 years before I came in. And he had started it as more of a lifestyle business. He had a handful of law firms that he worked with, and he needed somebody to come in and kind of organize it. And I did that because I'm a little OCD. And so I got it organized, and then we worked together, and he'll say that I nagged at him to grow the business. But over the past 7-ish years, we've worked together to grow the business and provide exceptional SEO services to law firms around the nation.
Wow. Huge. Congratulations. I feel like this is huge it's a big win, because when people are searching for these things, people don't think SEO. They just think, I need to get my problem solved. I'm looking for somebody. And it's hard to even show up on the rankings because of what's going on with AI. If we have like an SEO high level conversation, looking at AI overviews and how, 0 clicks are upon us, if I could say it like that. But people don't know that that's still coming from a source file or from a sitemap, from a referring page. And people still kind of think, oh, we'll just let it go because it's not important anymore. How important is it for people to consider those options as growth opportunities?
It's exceptionally important, because before you just thought of your organic rankings as, I'm going to put some content on the website, maybe get a backlink or two and hope that it ranks. And that is how Google has traditionally worked. But AI is now brought in an additional piece of real estate that keeps their users from navigating all the way down to the organic content. So now, instead of it being the pay-per-click, pay-per-call, local map, and then the organic rankings, now you have this giant section where people can just go and get this immediate answer. And as you said, that answer is being pulled from somewhere. And Google isn't just randomly throwing darts at a board to put together this information. They want to connect their users with the most reliable, accurate, up-to-date information possible. So that relies on those basic SEO principles of, one, having enough content available on your website to answer the question, but two, having backlink relationships established to give your website enough credibility and authority that Google can trust the answers that they are giving to their users. So SEO is the driving force behind getting your website to be a provider for the answer for that AI section.
I love that. How does someone get into the local pack? Because some people think about it, and I usually tell them, hey, you can get in there, make sure you've checked all your boxes, but people say, okay, yeah, I've done that, and then what? So there's so much technical that goes into that a beginner or someone that just wants their business out there may not know. How can you demystify it for them?
So there are three things that Google really looks at for that local pack. The first thing is your proximity, your office's proximity to the users who are Googling, where can I find a pizza location near me, or where can I find a lawyer near me? Google wants to show users results that are within a, fairly close radius to them, because they know that somebody's not going to want to drive 50 miles out. So having your business location close to where users are searching for you. So if you are closer to a residential area, you're going to have more people seeing you in that local pack. The other thing with proximity is making sure that your business is far away from other competitors. So this is especially true with law firms, because people aren't going door to door talking to lawyers before they make a decision. They're looking at this map. And if you are surrounded by your immediate competition in a really close proximity, the odds that you're going to show up are relatively low. And so you want to make sure that your location is in a more residential area that's further away from your competition. The second thing that Google looks at is your review recency. And it's not enough to just have a whole bunch of reviews. You need to make sure that you are constantly having a flow of reviews coming in, trickling in. You don't want to buy reviews. Google has been really awful about going in and canceling those things out. So the proximity, the review recency, and then also the name of your business can help trigger whether or not you show up in that local pack. And so sometimes businesses can get a DBA, which is just an alternate name for their business. It's something that you file with the Secretary of State, and then that will allow you to put some keywords-ish into your business name as it shows up in the local pack. So instead of having Johnny's be the name of your business, Johnny's Pizza is going to show up higher for a pizza search, for example. And then I know that I said that there were three things. The fourth thing is your SEO. If you are ranking on the first page of Google, you have a much higher chance of showing up in that local pack as well. And in a nutshell, that is all that Google's looking at.
That's true. And I feel like if they look at that and you have more context, like FAQs, sitemaps, breadcrumbs, just adding things to the pack, it gives you more of an established front. But the problem normally is, from what I noticed, is that businesses, they'll hire someone to do their social media marketing, they'll hire somebody to make the website, and then they'll leave the SEO for whoever is marketing the product. So what do you do when you get into those kind of scenarios?
So it's difficult, because there are two different approaches to hiring a marketing agency. And this is something I was actually talking to somebody about the other day, so it's kind of fresh in my mind. One approach is finding the do-it-all-for-you marketing agency. And those are going to be the ones that handle the social media. They're going to be the ones that handle the pay-per-click and the newsletter and your SEO. And it's great for some businesses if they don't have a lot of resources to be managing a million different entities. So having that under one house can be convenient. However, especially for SEO, which is a really niche technical service, you're not going to necessarily get the highest quality or the best strategies that are out there. So, there are trade-offs with that. The other route would be to hire individual companies to do each of those factions. And so we only do SEO. We typically only do it for law firms. And that means that we have a high level of expertise when it comes to this particular niche. And we don't touch social. We don't touch pay-per-click. We don't do that well. We don't have the experts on hand to say, here is exactly the strategy that you should be using for this particular marketing strategy. And so there are a few people that we trust to do it well. We'll, recommend them out. We don't get any kickbacks or anything for that. But we want to make sure that people who are really enthusiastic about their growth are using the right agencies and services that are going to actually help them hit those KPIs.
I love that. It's more of quality over quantity. And sometimes, people say, oh, you're doing my SEO, but you're not doing my social media. Why do people think it's the same thing?
Because they both show up online. So of course it should. It should be under the same umbrella. No, SEO and social media really have very, very little overlap. So there's nothing that you're going to be posting on your Facebook, on your Twitter, or I guess X is now what it is. It shows how behind I am. But none of that is going to be helping your organic rankings with your website itself. You can use social media to get people back to your website. So if you have a post and you put in, visit this landing page on my website, that's nice. It's not going to help your website rank any higher. It might get a little bit of traffic back to your website, but that's not really what Google's looking at either. So there is a disconnect between these two different services, but they're completely separate.
I love that you mentioned that. Thank you for highlighting that, because we just talked about that in an episode recently. Content SEO versus social media marketing, because people can't put the two apart and they can't really know that, this is a different service from this. And people think, okay, it's easy, just put this on and then something happens. But it's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
No, people hear the word content and they're like, all of the written things. And of course they do, because who in their right mind would spend hours researching the difference between social media content and blog content and newsletter content versus SEO page content? So, they're all very different types of content, and they are content, but there is very little overlap between them.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like also with local citations into SEO, it's a different thing. And a lot of businesses don't get to see that unless they're audited and they're told, you're not ranking on Brown Book, on Yellow Pages, on YP, on Waze. So where are you? You're not on Apple Maps either. So how does someone even get to know that that's a necessity, especially as an essential as a business, if they have a brick and mortar? Because sometimes all they have access is maybe Google and Bing places, but they don't have access to those other nooks and crannies.
So there are some services out there that'll get you all of those local directory listings. So there's a one that we used for a long time. It's called Whitespark. And if you create an account in there, you can get listed on all of those local directories. And it's so fast and it's so cheap, and it'll populate it all for you. And any SEO agency should be able to do that with a couple of clicks.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like when people hear these platforms and they start seeing codes, even as simple as a YouTube embed code, it's like, I don't want to do that. So, what's the importance of SEO when it comes to even social media for anyone who is thinking about it, where you're embedding posts to an article as opposed to just leaving the article without the embed on a different property, which is like an Instagram.com, for example?
So I think I understand what you're asking. But what's the importance of putting links inside of articles as opposed to just having a Facebook post?
It's like, what is better, having an embed that someone can view like a YouTube video on a web page than just saying, here's a link, click on it, and that's an anchor text?
Oh, well, if it's on the webpage already, somebody's going to actually watch it. So if you actually want them to watch the content, making it convenient as possible. The other thing is that you don't necessarily want somebody to be clicking away from your website to go and watch something on another site. So let's say somebody lands on a page, they see, what they're looking for in terms of the video, and then clicks away from that. That's going to show that somebody went to your website, wasn't interested in your website itself, and then navigated somewhere else. And so that's going to impact your bounce rate if nobody's actually staying on the page and you're directing them elsewhere.
Exactly. No, I love that. If there's anything you want to let the people know, the listener know, especially when it comes to business development on a year-to-year scale, what would that be when it comes to them deciding, like you said, looking for an agency? How will they be able to do that considering pricing? That's always a big question for businesses.
So that's a really great question, because SEO is not for everyone. It's not for every business. Not every business can hire an SEO agency, and not every business is going to benefit from hiring an SEO agency. And there are a few cases where that really just isn't feasible. So I have we actually turn away more clients than we take on, just because we know that it isn't going to work for a particular firm in their particular area. As an example, we recently had somebody in Los Angeles approach us and say, I have a $5,000 a month budget, and I have been through 10 SEO agencies and nobody's been able to get me the results that I want. And I demand results for this $5,000 a month budget. Well, in Omaha, that would be great. But when you're looking at Los Angeles and you have giant law firms who have been spending millions of dollars a month on SEO, that have taken on giant cases, get amazingly high-powered organic links to their website, and are dominating that area, people are just going to be taking your $5,000 a month, saying thank you, and then letting you turn over next year. So in that type of situation, that law firm just didn't have the budget to be competitive. He would have had to relocate or really niche down and pick one sector or service area to dive deep into, rather than trying to be the it lawyer with peanuts relatively to spend for that market. So that isn't necessarily going to be helpful for that kind of business. And then, I mean, there are other markets where that would have been an ideal case. So if you are in a relatively unsaturated market, it would have been simple to get a law firm to rank if they don't have a lot of competition, and if they're well established, if they are naturally getting good links. So it's really a case-by-case basis. And so talking to somebody who is going to be upfront and direct with you about how meaningful of a difference is this going to make for your company is really what you should be looking for. Because somebody might be able to get you from page 9 to page 7, but that's not going to get you any more business. We are looking for the types of clients who are on page 3 and want to get to page 1. They have a review strategy in place, they're in a good location, and they can afford to develop the content and source the backlinks needed to get them up to page 1.
I love that. You said something that is so important when it comes to the ranking, because people don't know that page 1 to 3 is like I'll call it like your equilibrium. Like you're kind of like in a limbo, because you can either jump on the first or the third. It's like first place, second place, third place in a race, but you still get the acknowledgement that somebody can say, oh yeah, I saw you run the other day. It kind of has that, good feel to it. Now with pricing, there's a little bit of a difference here, because people say, okay, I'll just do my SEO. My grandson will do my SEO. Or another thing I've heard is, I'll just go to Favour and get somebody to do SEO. I don't want to spend that much. When people are looking at the price, what should they be thinking about when SEO is a discussion of an investment as opposed to it being a cost?
So it is an investment, because it's something that is going to pay off in the long run, year over year. And so a lot of times people are trying to decide whether they're going to invest in PPC or in SEO. So with PPC, pay-per-click advertising, you might get an influx of clients. You might not. It might be expensive. It might not. But the guarantee on that is once that money is spent, it's gone. So that ad will only show up so many times for the budget that you have in place. With SEO, as you develop content, that content's there forever. And the more that it ranks, the higher it ranks, it is going to continually generate more leads year after year, especially as you develop more content for your website and continue to invest in the power of your website so that those pages are actually showing up.
Well, yeah, totally. And even you said something about pages too, the importance of updating a page as opposed to just leaving a page on publish, the day it was modified the first time.
Right. Well, Google is looking for up-to-date relevant information. And so if there is something on that page that has changed, so we work with a lot of personal injury law firms. So if there are on a bicycle accident injury page, if there's a law that has been updated, and that should be updated on your page. And it isn't necessarily necessary to update the content on your page super regularly, but just making sure that the content on there is comprehensive and is answering questions that people are actively asking. So making sure that your headers are written in a way that makes sense to Google and that makes sense to the people who are searching these questions and are looking for this information. And really making a comprehensive page as opposed to like a 2-paragraph page and then moving on.
Right. Exactly. And I think also the pages in itself is also a big thing. When you look at a sitemap, most people say, oh yeah, I'm just going to do blogs for you, SEO, but you see how you're shaking your head? And then with AI, it's even worse now.
It's awful. It's so awful. And a lot of times people do equate SEO with blogs. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the idea of content marketing. Well, yeah, blogs are a type of content, but it's not really helping the actual meat of your website. So, for example, with personal injury lawyers, we develop pages as opposed to blogs. So we create pages that are like car accident lawyer, bus accident lawyer, motorcycle accident lawyer, and then we build a hierarchy of pages under those. So, for example, with the car accident lawyer, it would be fatal car accidents involving children, car accidents involving pedestrians, or, there is an infinite amount of content that gets longer tail and more specific to the types of cases that people are searching about. And we create comprehensive information where if somebody is injured in a trip and fall accident at Lowe's and they have questions about it, that website is going to have the information readily available for them so they can find the information they're looking for and they can hire the attorney that is going to help them with that process. So blogs, on the other hand, tend to be very generic, very temporal pieces of content. So I've seen some really awful blog content out there where it's like, are cigarettes bad for you? Well, yeah, they are. And there have been 8 million articles written about the same thing. So this article is never going to show up on Google. Nobody's going to find it. If they do, they're not going to read it. And if they do, the information isn't going to be helpful. So we tend to steer away from blogs and really focus on the types of content that are going to convert prospective clients into actual cases.
I love that. Thank you for just clarifying that, because that was...
Sorry about the rant.
No, that was perfect. We needed that because I feel like I'm not the only one saying it, which makes sense, so that when someone hears it from someone else, they're like, oh yeah, okay, we're actually not doing SEO. We're just typing, Yeah, typing for the sake of typing, it's cathartic, but it's not going to help. Right. Oh, Lindsey, you've been a breath of fresh air, just coming to help us, give us some good insights, great perspectives, and also gems that people can apply. If there's one thing that they can apply for themselves today to just improve that 1% in a 365 year, that's 365%. If they do 1% a day, what would that 1% be?
The 1% would be to keep thinking about the types of information that people are looking for as they're looking for the type of service that you provide. So if you have a boutique clothing store, think about what questions people are asking as they are searching for the types of clothes that you make. And as long as you are trying to keep yourself in the mindset of your prospective client, as opposed to the mindset of you as a business owner or the mindset of you as a passionate person providing this service, you're going to be able to generate more leads by connecting with your target audience.
I love that. Wow. Thank you, Lindsey, for being with us on the We Don't Play podcast show today. You've been amazing. And I know some people want to connect with you and possibly get to work with you so they can also learn, especially because you're so niche. So it's like, okay, we know the right person to go to when we need this. How can they connect with you?
Feel free to reach out to me through optimizemyfirm.com. My email is lindsey@optimizemyfirm.com. Very simple. I also have a podcast on my website that I host. That's the Personal Injury Marketing Minute. And we talk about business operations and marketing for law firms. So if you are a lawyer, check it out and go listen to it. If you're not a lawyer, if you're having trouble sleeping, feel free to turn that on and it'll bore you to death.
I don't think it will, but I feel like if somebody sleeps through it, they'll wake up more energized. Like, yeah, we know what we're doing today. Thank you so much, Lindsey.
Thank you.
Anytime.